Hello, second graders of the universe. This is Diana Carroll, and I'm here to talk to you about measurement today. We're going to start out with a couple units. These are the two units that we use to measure the smallest items well, not the smallest, maybe a millimeters for the smallest, but some of the smaller items, classroom items we have in our room. And this one is an inch tile. It is the size of an inch or an inchworm. If you have a mental picture for how big this is, it makes it a lot easier to estimate. Another thing that can help you estimate or make a really good guess at how long something is using your fingertip. Now, your second grade finger size are going to be a little bit smaller than my teacher finger size. You'll have to it's going to be close, but it's going to be a little bit smaller. So as you can tell right here, there's this tiny little line. If you bend your finger, you can see it a little better. That's about the space that an inch is for a very close guess. And then this is a centimeter cube. It is about the size of a tiny little ladybug. And it's also about the length of your pinky finger or the width of your pinky nail. And if you're trying to measure something, you would need more of these cubes to measure the same space in inches. So for this inch, I needed about 3 centimeter cubes, but I only needed 1 inch for the same amount of length or the same amount of space. So if I want to make an estimate for this eraser, I could have a mental picture of about how big an inch is, and I have a good thing to help me guess. So I'm going to line up with the edge of my eraser, and I'm going to use that line as my first inch, my second inch, and I'll need a tiny, tiny bit extra. So about 2 tiles and a tiny bit extra for inches. And if I was measuring in tiny little ladybug centimeters, I also have to line up to the edge of my object. And I'm going to take a guess. I'll need about 1, 2, get really close, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 5, maybe 6 of the tiny little centimeters. So let's see, how did I do? I'm going to match up my tiles and get right toward the edge of the object. When I measure, I can't leave space like this in the middle because then I'll have an inaccurate measurement. I would think that 2 was too many in this measurement because it goes extra. Or I can't overlap. If I put this on top, then I would think I needed a whole lot more tiles. I might think I needed 3 tiles if I overlapped, and that would not give me an accurate measurement. Instead, I need to make sure they line up exactly edge to edge. So lining up edge to edge and the edge of my object, I say I would need 2-inch tiles and a teensy tiny bit more, but not a whole third tile, just a little part of it. And here, to measure my centimeters, I'm also going to line up to the edge without any gaps and without any stacking or overlaps. I'm just going to get it as close as I can. Sorry, I'm bending over while I do that. As close to the edge of my eraser as I can, and I'd find I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those tiny little centimeter cubes. And that gave me a pretty good estimate of how many tiny little fingers I would need or how many finger widths I would need to make a good guess on my eraser. Did I need more tiles or more centimeters? I needed more centimeters. It took 6 centimeters, but it only took 2-inch tiles. All right, so next, moving on to using a ruler, they're using that same unit size. On this ruler, this whole side is inches. The numbers are farther away from each other. 0 all the way to 1, all the way to 2, all the way to 3. They're pretty far away. That's because an inch is a pretty large size. So this is the size, the space between a 0 and a 1, and the space between the 1 and the 2. It's a larger size because an inch is a larger unit. Then when using the centimeters, this side starts at 30, so I need to flip my ruler all the way over to make sure it starts at the 1 side or the 0 side. Now, the size of a centimeter is closer to this tiny cube. The numbers are not as far apart. To the 1 is really, really quick. To the 2, to the 3, to the 4. They're all really close together. That's because a centimeter is a smaller unit. So the numbers can be closer together because each unit is smaller. So when you measure, you have to make sure that you know which unit you're measuring with. Am I measuring with small centimeters or am I measuring with larger inches? And that depends which side of the ruler you use. If your unit is centimeters, you're going to use the smaller ladybug size. Each of those is like the size of a tiny ladybug. And if you're measuring in inches, you're going to need to flip your ruler all the way over and find that 0 and measure the inch side. Now, using my same object, I'm going to measure with my ruler. I have to line it all the way up to the 0 and check, wow, I would need 1 whole inch, 2 whole inches, and a teensy-tiny bit more of an inch. And then if I do the centimeter side, I can't start on the 30. I need to flip it all the way over and get all the way to that 0. Now this side doesn't have a 0, but I know that's 0 because I can infer that's the 1. So that has to be the nothing, the 0. So I'm going to line all the way up to the 0, and I'd see 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters to measure that eraser. All right, so next we're going to practice at the Khan Academy. There's going to be some video practices to do first, and it is measurement, data, and geometry. And so the first one you're going to do is measuring length, then measuring these little videos underneath measuring length and activities. And this next one is comparing and estimating length, and these 3 under that. Tomorrow you will be doing length word problems, so you do not need to do that one today. Measuring length and comparing and estimating length. Have fun!